I'm very excited to be in a conversation about a topic that's very, very close to my heart. Ritual over spectacle, when performance becomes portal. And I'm very honored to be hosting this conversation with two extraordinary artists, both of whom in their very unique ways are really breaking the boundaries of what is possible within a shared sonic experience. Please join me in welcoming to the stage the amazing Ela and Sam Lee. Well, hello.
Hi.
I would love to just start with a very brief, because I know time is a thing, intro of both of you, just to talk a little bit about who you are, a window into your world or your work, just for anyone here that might not know you already. Ela, I'll start with you.
Who am I? I don't know anymore. That was so incredibly beautiful. Thank you. I am an artist and I make music using my voice mostly. I'm also the co-founder of Trans Voices Choir, who currently are rehearsing next door for... That's not us, but there is something else going on. We're performing at the Pit Theatre next week as part of Transpose. I am also co-founded London Contemporary Voices Choir, so which is kind of how we know each other. And yes, in my own practice, I work a lot using technology. Some of you might have seen the film earlier, which is all about that. So yes, I work mostly using quantum computing to make electronic music, but there's that side, and then there's all the stuff around voice, really. Yeah.
Thank you. Sam.
Thank you, Kate. So lovely to be here. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, everyone. Who am I? I think. Well,
existential questions.
I've had a reframe of identity lately. I've discovered that actually, what I am is I'm a nature lover with a folk singing problem, as opposed to a folk singer who does lots of work with nature, and which I feel in the collapse of the music industry around us is I'm running for the woods. I'm a singer. I record music. I work extensively within the British folk tradition, but working within songs that connect us to land. I had the pleasure of recording with you on my last album and the Trans Voices. And I work in that kind of unusual interface of both singing and writing in devotion and love and exploration of the natural world, but also finding ways to bring people into the nature space, particularly musicians, and explore kinships and forms of dropping in through music. Couldn't have been more beautifully illustrated earlier, thank you, of how we can create these sort of ways of becoming rewilded, renatured, and restoring that sense of wildness in ourselves, and all the health-giving properties and possibilities of saving the world that it can result in.
Hear, hear. Well, I'm very excited for this chinwag with you both. But before we dive in, I would really love for us all actually to just take 3 breaths together. We're going to be joined by some lovely wind instruments as well. Just to bring us into unity, into presence, and sense of togetherness. So when you're ready, just closing down your eyes, you can lengthen your spine, drop your shoulders. And then when you're ready, take a deep breath in through the nose. And just exhale it out through the mouth. And again, deep breath in through the nose. This time, hold it at the top. Exhale out. Last one, really big deep breath right into the diaphragm. Hold it at the top. Then take another little sip And release maybe with a sigh. And just gently fluttering, open your eyes, bringing yourself back into, the Barbican. Our portal is officially open. Well, actually, Hattis Noit opened it, but we're in the second part, the second doorway. So my first question is, what makes a live moment ritual rather than spectacle? Let's start with you, Ela. Open the floor.
Well, I think the first thing that strikes me is that the question itself presents a binary of ritual and practice as being, ritual and performance being, ritual and spectacle being, I think those breaths kind of spaced me out so much I've lost the power to speak or think, apparently. But yes, ritual and spectacle as being completely separate and opposite, like yin and yang. So that's interesting in itself. I don't necessarily have an answer there, other than that I think there's this interesting thing of how opposites horseshoe onto each other, and that there are some elements, I think, within the idea of spectacle, when I think of it, that can be very transformative and can transport us somewhere else. But I guess what we're talking about is the difference between, I guess I've always found the word entertainment one of those words that kind of triggers this idea of spectacle and kind of something that's there to kind of pass the time or entertain in a way that's kind of, the emphasis is on a performer kind of doing something that may even be harming themselves or others in some way, that kind of gives people some kind of experience that feels, I guess, transitory and maybe a little narrow and maybe not so much emphasis on something that is transformative, which is where, I guess, the idea of ritual comes in for me more. So yeah, I wonder about that. I also have been thinking a lot about the idea of entanglement, both from the perspective of, quantum mechanics, like literal entanglement of particles and things like that, but as a metaphor as well, and in a way that this idea of the observer cannot be separate. So this idea that we are here speaking and you are there listening, and that is separate somehow, that actually we are in one entangled state together. And more and more I like to think of any kind of performance or musical or artistic ritual as being like that, as being in an entangled state together, and that it's not possible to step outside of that. And any attempt to is sort of an illusion, really, that when we think that we're doing that, we're not. And so I guess with that comes an idea that spectacle perhaps has a sense of illusion to it, and a sense of, I don't know if it's insincerity, but it, I guess, brings that word to my mind anyway. And that's not to say that there can be nothing gained from that, because I think lots of wonderful things can be gained from that as well. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
There's that sense of almost the way I feel like that a wall dissolving rather than exactly a separation, which, as you said, is totally really an illusion anyway. But there are ways, I suppose, and I don't have the answer, but of dissolving that wall so that there is an absolute feeling of unity and that you are on a journey together, musical or otherwise. Sam?
Yeah, I mean, I fully agree with everything you're saying, and this word dissolving is so important, this kind of the transubstantiation, and how we are, as artists, as performers, as guides, are the people who have this wonderful role to initiate these veils to be lifted, the porosity of walls, the porosity of internal walls as well to be suddenly overcome. I think where I'm very excited about this, and only just beginning in many ways my early journey into the most ancient of practices. We talk about spectacle, but really actually I'm more interested in spectral, and the two words are obviously come from the similar root, and it's where they have divided off. One is about shock and awe, and is a perhaps can be coerced into a act of power making, about creating, as you're saying, Ila, the greater separation. But actually, for me, the work that I do as an artist and where I'm attracted to artists is about leading people over thresholds, and ritual is the crucible in which we have learnt the very, very ancient craft that it defines humans as being the beast that learnt how to, through repetition and through breath. You know, it's so wonderful. We have the harmonic series being played here with somebody's breath amplifying in a stairwell. And what we've just witnessed and experienced and heard earlier is the power of breath as the life giver, which for only a few short minutes without we are dead, is actually also the portal to all of life and to healing, and how we work with that to create portals, and the repetition and the way we work with breath, be that holotropic breath, the breath work that we're now discovering all over again as being a way of entering into altered states. These are all the things that we have learnt over the eons as our form of healing. And they are away from the very first wounds at birth and the heart and flesh wounds throughout life, that actually they're our way of kind of somatically self-anointing, and it is working with ancestor always, and the spectrum, the spectacle is about the command and the invocation of a space where magic can happen and the impossible and the material suddenly doesn't hold the same properties, and we are always adapting, working with old technology. Even when we're working with quantum AI, it's old technology, just, the blade has been resharpened, I think, and we're constantly discovering ways to use these to invoke a timeless reaction, I guess.
Wow, beautiful. We just close it there, actually. That's it. I would love to know, how do you each hold or guide that shared space with an audience? And how does that exchange and connection shape the journey you're taking them on? I mean, Sam, I've experienced singing with the Nightingales, which, Eli, I know you've actually played out. Sadly, I was the week after you played, or before actually, which was very sad that I didn't see that or experience that, because actually a lot of it's not about seeing.
Shut the eyes down. I loved your little line earlier on. Shut your eyes down.
And I'm kind of fascinated with that experience. I'd love to know from both of you within this context, because they're both going to be very different within your practices. Obviously, there'll be threads that cross, but yeah, how do you hold and guide that shared experience?
Well, you're referring to a project that I run called Singing with Nightingales, where we take audiences in the spring into the darkness. And I think that is where we share a lot. We're lovers of the dark, the shadows.
And can I just really quickly interject that I'm like the first witch to be in the woods always, but I actually probably wouldn't be skipping around in the dark on my own, because I'd be shitting myself. And this gave me an opportunity to fulfill this fantasy and total safety and utter embodiment, and it's haunted me ever since in the best way possible. Please continue.
It was lovely having you both there, and last spring, Ella, you and Anna Phoebe had the wonderful joy of bringing you both out to come and improvise with a bird that is the master of the night and also a master of threshold crossing and creating portals. And I guess this is a realm that the night and the shutting down of senses and the opening of other senses. It's old work in many ways, but it's a place where I'm absolutely convinced that because it's become such a, as you say, such a place of forbiddenness. That's the other thing we share, perhaps, and fear, and all the application of why boundaries are put up of what we can and can't do. That the kind of the agency of leading people on silent in the dark walks into the forest, into the place of one of the most profound songs on the planet, the male horny nightingale singing for love.
You call him like that, just like overzealous bachelor, just singing his little heart out.
What else are us artists doing it for? And but also that in there we can, as musicians, but as audiences, all the kind of the confines suddenly disappear, and we become kind of universal and interstellar, being in the darkness and being in a place where we're improvising. The bird sings with us. And I don't want to go too much describing it because it's slightly, you kind of have to be there to experience it and come next year if you want to come into the woods. But for me, it's about leading people into a place of revelation, not necessarily just with nature, but with heart, because the story around it of extinction of a bird, of our severance from the natural world, from all that nature has gives us 3 times a day and sustains us, and how we have become so caged ourselves, gives us a sort of reimagining of what we have to reclaim, and that re-empowerment, and doing it through kind of and it's not so much shamanic, because I'm not a shaman, but working on those principles. It's ceremonial.
It is a ceremony, what you do.
So these are the tools of my trade, and place that I get excited, and have found people will trust me where other places they won't.
The sound is so powerful, because I think when I think about the nightingale and the kind of heartbreaking story, actually, of obviously the decline and this potential that we literally lose this bird. We're very busy with lots of other parts of the planet, which I'm all for, and have done lots of interesting things in the jungles and stuff like that. But actually, this land that we are in, that we walk upon, if we live here, is so important. A lot of it gets lost, and music is the bridge to the divine. It's also the language, the universal language that we have with all sentient beings, vibration and sound. And I found that night with the song and the nightingale singing his heart out, and honestly, you have a relationship with that bird. It didn't start singing until Sam started singing. And that's a dialogue. It was a conversation, and it was so transcendent. It was very touching, and it was truly a ceremony where we dissolved the bridges between us and nature, and allowed ourselves to just be in harmony and sing, even of that grief and that holding on, that connection, that relationship.
It's the oldest spectacle, and
Absolutely.
one we need to get into more.
Mm-hmm. So Ila, how do you hold or guide a shared space with an audience?
I think I want to talk about darkness. Maybe I'll do that in a moment. But one of the things I think that's so important is honesty. I think part of the setup of spectacle, and part of the beauty of spectacle as well, is how the self of the person being the spectacle, doing the spectacle, or the people, is to kind of erase the self to some extent. So you don't see the inner workings. You don't see the legs under the water of the duck. You just see the gliding across the top. And one of the things that has really sort of shone a light on that is a project I did with Ballet Queer, just a queer ballet group. And a lot of the conversation, my partner is also a professional dancer, and a lot of the conversation has been around the training involved is all about removing the visibility of your own suffering or discomfort, or you could be like dancing on a broken foot but still show something powerful. And I think that this idea of power as well really comes up for me. You just talked about it too. So I think there's something about showing something other than what is, which is very powerful and very beautiful and also very transformative in a lot of ways. But what's happened is we've gone so far that way in how we show performance and how we work together with music that we have left ritual behind. And I think ritual for me requires some honesty, where you are in it together. So certainly with the practice of trans voices and how we sing together, because it's an improvised practice, there is no one in the room who is more important than anybody else. So we are all equally in it together. And there is no right way or correct path. And in our entangled state together, we can only discover the path together, because the path is made by our joint walking on it. So I think those things are very important to me. Darkness is so interesting to me because that experience kicked something off. So had that experience with you and the Nightingale and everybody else that was there, of course. And me being me, I tried to capture this on my little Zoom recorder, so that I could try and turn it into a piece of music, which I am doing. And I think it's something that hoping Earth Percent people are here today. Hey, hello. So hoping to put that out into the world. But realizing that even the process of consciously recording something changes what's happening and changes it to some extent. You have to be so mindful of that, because you're trying to capture something that cannot really be captured. There's something sublime in that. But that experience in the darkness, I then, funnily enough, got asked to be a part of this artwork by Rubiana Maya, which involved being buried alive and doing a vocal practice as a durational performance for 3 hours buried. And that happened about 2 weeks ago. And in that performance, I couldn't move my body. I couldn't breathe through my nose. I could breathe through a tiny aperture in my mouth. My eyes were covered. I was buried in soil with 5 other vocalists. And this experience of really shutting off so many senses, barely being able to hear even, but then becoming so attuned to those people and feeling this incredible well of empathy and love and connection, and thinking about people who've experienced being buried in rubble or being trapped, and suddenly being in this place thinking, I have no idea what time it is. I have no idea how long I've been here. I don't know if the others are still singing, are they? I can just about hear some things. But when I actually came out of that experience, I felt a tremendous grief, because I felt like I wasn't ready to come out. Even after 3 hours, I kind of felt, there was something about that has been glaringly missing from my own practice for such a long time. And I think it's some of the things you touched on about sensory deprivation, but also about connecting through the palms of your hands, through the soil, through the earth, and actually being in the earth and connecting really with every little piece of you that you can.
I mean, that's a shamanic initiation. Yeah. That's like in many cultures, that is something that transforms and takes you into the next level of your spiritual evolution. Yeah. It's a lot about facing the unknown, the fear and death.
And I think there's also something I'd say about that it's not all great, you know. When you in a experience like that, you do. I think I counted to 500 in German. I had a wee in. I was wearing a wetsuit, fortunately, that I'd borrowed from my friend. I had a wee in it, and had a whole attack of guilt about weeing in my friend's wetsuit. It's not as if, what I'm saying, I guess, it's not as if, like, in these experiences you have to remain in this absolutely present state. And the work that I'm actually doing next door in the pit is called Subverse, and that's, again, all about the underneath. And so come next week if you're around. And that's about exploring dissociation as a practice, rather than this idea of dissociation being a terrible thing and we should always be super present all the time. We can't be. We're human beings, and sometimes the goal of presence itself can stop it from happening. So this idea of being able to allow that as well.
It's incredible. I also just wanted to ask, like, the things that you do with AI and technology, like, blow my tiny mind. And do you feel that almost creates a new intimacy? It almost feels to me, and again, this is not my question to answer, but it's like a whole other dimension that you're bringing to a sort of journey or an experience. Do you feel like it becomes its own entity that then helps shape that experience and kind of lead people?
He's trying to get your attention. 1 minute. Okay.
Oh, crikey.
All right. Whew. 1 minute. So
1 minute.
AI.
Wait, I'm counting 10. We had 10. No. Okay.
Okay. So, well,
Three.
I'll answer super quickly about this. Essentially, I think AI is a really broad term. I said that earlier, firstly. Secondly, it's nothing more really than an extension of ourselves, and it's a tool like many other tools we've had. Like the microphone that I'm holding has transformed our experience of music, as we saw with Hattis' performance. To be able to sing with yourself wasn't possible in that same way before. Now it is. AI is another set of tools. I guess the difference is that it's an intelligence. I'd say there's a difference between intelligence and consciousness. Consciousness, as we know it, might not exist in the way that we think it does. I think AI will, in a weird way, shed some light on that to some extent, what we are and what we aren't. But I think, in any case, whether we like it or not, we're entangled with absolutely everything. So whether we like it or not, we're entangled with every new technology when it emerges. You can't really separate yourself from that. As much as we'd love to be able to, it becomes something that influences everything. It influences our culture, our friends, our families, the world that we're in. So whether we like it or not, we are in an entangled state with AI, with quantum, with all of these things. And so we must get to know this other and get to know how to use it for good and how to stop people or encourage people not to use it for nasty, nefarious things.
Okay, so we came on 3 minutes late, so Jimmy, don't kill me. Are we allowed like 3 minutes just to do a shared experience with everybody? 3 minutes. Okay, I saw the glint in his eye that was like, I will kill you later. Yeah. Okay. We thought it might be fun. We don't, I'm going to let Sam just take this away.
You were saying, I have no idea what you're about to do, nor do I.
Three mins.
We're going to do a little shared thing. I'm going to ask everyone to stand up. Is that all right? And we can come to the... now, the thing is that we're going to immediately dissolve the old... The fourth wall. And this isn't about you looking at us. We're going to ask everyone to look into an imaginary middle. So you're not looking at us. So we're now creating a circle. Oh my God, and whoever is in the middle awkward, very
Pressure.
awkward. And if you know people, you can hold their hands with people. If you don't have to, if you feel like holding hands with each other, it's a really nice thing to do. You can reach out to that stranger next to you and just like, yeah, have a bit of connection. And I don't know, I'm making this up as I go along, but we're going to hold a bit of a drone, and thus us three with microphones are just going to join in. So take a deep breath out. Once again, breath in. And we're going to hum on that. Now keep humming and take breaths, but don't all take a breath at the same time.
Keep it continuous.
And if you want to hum on a harmony,
when you're ready, just bringing it to silence. Thank you so much. Wow. Woo! I love it when we don't know what we're doing. That worked out.